scientists have learned.
Assalamu alaikum. May God's peace be upon you. We're back here again with Science Creations. And today's topic is chemical reactions. Again, chemical reactions, okay? If you can all repeat after me before we get started, okay? Again, my name is, of course, Serena Muhammad with Science Creations at www.sciencecreations.com. Most of the kids call me Dr. S. Okay, chemical reactions. Please repeat after me and then we're going to get started. Chemical reactions is when two or more chemicals, I put things on here, when two or more chemicals combine together to make something new or a new substance. Again, what is a chemical reaction? A chemical reaction is the mixing. I forgot to put mixing. You have to mix two or more things together to make something new or make a new substance. That is a chemical reaction. Okay, so I'm actually going to tie chemical reactions into mankind. Okay, I have a book on your body, beautiful book. I'll show some pictures of that book. But I'm going to tie in chemical reactions to mankind or humankind, man and woman. And I am going to start by reading from the Quran on Surah 2, 6:2 in the Quran. Bismillah. 6:2, He it is who created you from clay and then decreed a stated term for you. And there is his presence another determined time, yet you doubt within yourselves. I'm going to read that again. 6:2 from the cattle. He it is who created you from clay and then decreed a stated term for you. And there in his presence another determined term, yet you doubt within yourself. Now, why did I choose that ayat? I chose that ayat because, man, your body, your human body goes through a number of chemical changes. We know that we start from the egg in the mother, sperm in the father, joins together, and then a chemical change take place. You are who you are today because of DNA, genetic structure. So many chemical changes. I could go on for days, maybe months and years, talking about the chemical changes that go on in your body. But I'm going to start with an experiment. It's always fun doing an experiment. So I said, let me start with a simple experiment. We all know this experiment. I have a chemical in the tube. What does this chemical look like? Well, I don't know. It could be a number of things. Just a white powder, right? Could look like, I don't know. Let me think of something white. I don't want to give away what it is. Could be detergent, right? I was in a school one day. This is where our school systems are. I had one kid said it looked like drugs, and it does look like drugs from a plant, the cocaine drug. One of the children told me that. Another substance, just look at it. What do you think it is? It could be sugar, powdered sugar, right? That's why it's so important to label things. There's no telling what it is. That's why it's important not to touch things or not to put things in your mouth because you don't know what it is. But I did label it. I did label it for myself. This is actually baking soda. Okay, yes, baking soda. You can brush your teeth with it. You can wash clothes with it. So what I'm going to do is do a simple experiment. I'm sure you've probably done this before. If you haven't, you should definitely do it. You can use just household baking soda. It's a safe chemical, but it is a chemical nonetheless. So what I'm going to do on the table, I'm going to put down baking soda. I know most of the kids say, oh, we know what this, no matter how many times I do it, it's always fun to do it again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour some baking soda in a cup. Now remember what I'm doing. I'm doing a chemical what? Chemical reaction. I'm doing a chemical reaction. Okay, I'm mixing how many chemicals? Well, I said two or more. My first chemical is baking soda. Okay, it is definitely a chemical. Safe, but it's a chemical. Then I have another chemical. What is this? It's liquid. Okay, it's clear. What does it look like? You might say water, right? Might say ammonia, might say alcohol, and might say what? Vinegar. Now, again, it's important to label chemicals. Don't just go around drinking things because you don't know what chemical it is. It's very important that you realize what chemical is. I am going to tie this into what I just read. Smell it. It smells awful. Okay, it's vinegar. It's vinegar. I like to use coloring. Food coloring is always great for, effects. Nice little color there. Keep an eye on the cup. Try not to make a mess here. So what I'm going to do is add the chemicals, 2 or more. I have baking soda, have vinegar. What's going to happen? Chemical reaction. You're changing it to something new. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. And you got a little bubbly substance. You can do a volcano, but it changed it to a gas. It came up. Looked like a little explosion. It's not an explosion. It's a chemical reaction with them combining together, okay, and causing a change in a substance, okay. So anyway, we changed that as a very simple chemical reaction with vinegar and baking soda. Most kids love doing that. It's a lot of fun. You can do it. You can decorate a volcano. Great project for the elementary lower grades. Decorate some structure, anything, a bottle. You can choose it with clay. Put a lot of colors. Put some trees. You can decorate in a box with the little men. Put the baking soda, volcano, the red food color in with the vinegar. Read about a volcano and find out what's actually happening in a volcano so far as that change is occurring. So again, that's a very simple chemical change. We're going to talk about more complex chemical changes. Let's start with the chemical change in our body. Okay, we talked about the sperm and the egg. Talked about how we come from clay and we're changed. Chemically changed into something new. We are this human embryo, right? Then we develop and keep developing. The cells keep multiplying themselves until they turn into what? A human body. So the first chemical change I want to talk about is when we eat something. What's happening? Okay, we know we have to eat and it changes into what? Energy. The food we eat chemically changes into energy. Okay, so the first part I want to touch on is the chemical change that occurs in your digestive system. Okay, when you eat something healthy, such as a pear, you put it in your mouth, right? It mixes with the saliva glands, breaks down that food, chemically changes it in the stomach. There's acid in your stomach right there. When you get books for kids, kids love books with pictures. You see the pictures, not a lot of words, but a lot of important information. Very interesting even for me, an adult or any adult to read this book. Just remember that. It's important to get books, a lot of color. Kids, I hope you like this book with a lot of color, a lot of pictures, and a lot of information, but simple but very important information. Again, it goes into your stomach, chemically changes, goes through your large intestines, your small intestines, then your large intestines. Again, it is absorbed outside of the intestines into the bloodstream to every part in your body, every cell in your body, and it chemically changes into energy when we eat healthy things. And then the waste matter is released outside of your body. That part that you don't need is released. Okay, dealing with the digestive system only right there. But there's so many different chemical changes we can talk about. I'm going to read another ayat. I'm going to read another ayat dealing with mankind. This is a very detailed ayat that I'm going to pretty much talk almost the whole time about this one ayat. All right, here we go. It's from 22:5, Al-Hajj. Hajj just passed, and this is the surah called Al-Hajj. Ready? Bismillah. 22:5. O mankind, if you have any doubt about resurrection, consider that we created you out of dust, then out of a sperm, then out of leech clot, then out of a morsel of flesh, partly formed and partly unformed, in order that we may manifest our power to you, and we cause whom we will to rest in the wombs for an appointed time. Then do we bring you out as babes, then foster you, that you may reach of age of full strength, and some of you called to die, and some are sent back. And some are sent back to the feeblest old age, so that they know nothing after having known much. And farther thou seest the earth barren and lifeless. Rain on it, it is stirred to life, it swells, it puts forth every kind of beautiful growth in pairs. Okay, I talked about a lot in that ayat. That's ayat 22:5. Covered so many things. But it also covered so many chemical changes that takes place. Again, a miracle 1,400 years ago. It's talking about, let's just summarize quickly. It's talking about the sperm and the egg before they had microscopes, okay? Remember, this is microscopic. Talking about the sperm and the egg. Next time I have to bring my microscope. Then it's talking about the clot. It talks about this in science. If you study the development of a human embryo, you will learn this. The clot that hangs on to the mother in the womb. Then it talks about how it's formed partially. Of course, we know it goes through 3 stages, the 3 trimesters. It talks about the changes. Of course, we're going through the chemical change. It's changing chemically, okay, all this time. Then you come out as a baby. We're going to talk about the human body. Changes into a baby, and then you grow. And again, you're changing all this time. Your cells are multiplying, and you're growing to an adult, and then you'll get old age. And, of course, we know then you'll die. And it will still chemically break down or decompose. It will chemically break down your body, decompose your body, and turn it into what? Dust. You will go back to dust. Every living thing changes back to dust. Speaking of dust, speaking of chemical changes, I said, let me go outside. If you can see, I can often go outside and pick up something because all of these signs are in creation. You can almost go outside at any point, find any of these things, or find an example and find something that can show these changes and show these signs of creation and show the science relationship to it. So what I did is I went outside and I got some leaves. It's fall. I said, chemical change? Hey, chemical change relates directly to the season, to the fall season. So I brought out some leaves. What do you notice about these leaves? Here's leaf number 1. So many leaves I could have chose from. It's beautiful to watch the changes in the leaves. Please identify and look at the colors. It's great to go leaf collecting with children. Elementary, adults is fun. To go leaf collecting in the fall or go on a nature walk. Enjoy nature. And what are you doing? You're observing creation. I'm showing you all these color leaves for what reason? Well, they are changing to something new, which means what is chemically breaking them down? Chemical reaction. Yes, again, these leaves are going through a chemical reaction, a process of breaking down. They don't have enough sunlight when the earth turns, becomes fall. They have less sunlight. They are dying. They are changing. These colors are always in there, but we only usually see green. But the yellow, the red, the vibrant red, beautiful maroon, the beautiful colors, so beautiful during the fall. But these are a change. They represent symbolic to change, and there are literally a change in the leaves. And, of course, they will die, break down, and go through that chemical change and change back to what? Dust. The leaves will change back to dust and create a healthy environment for the tree to still grow in. Okay, the soil will become healthy once again. But these leaves, things happen in nature all the time so far as chemical change. Whenever they change back into something different that you can't turn it back to. For instance, let's look at a nail. I could have brought in a nail. If you get a nail, put it outside. If it rains, oxygen chemically changes it. What happens to the nail? Rust. It rusts. That is a chemical change. Whenever something changes and you can't change it back, that's considered a chemical change. Very good. Now I'm going to do what's called a solution. Show you the difference between a solution and a chemical change. Okay, I have some H2O. H2O we know is hydrogen, and O stands for O2. Oxygen, the most important thing you can drink is water. You know, I don't stress that enough. The most important thing you can drink is water. You will die. You will die without water. Please keep that in mind, okay? That if you do not drink water, you will break down eventually and die. Every cell in your body, every billion cell in your body needs H2O to survive. Okay, so I bought some lemonade, sugar. Got some sugar here, and I'm going to mix it with H2O. This is called a solution. I have a solute and a solvent. When you mix them together, we know what it makes. You can do this at home too. It tastes great. Sugar water or lemonade. It's a solution, right? Now, is it a chemical change? Well, it's water and sugar. Still water and sugar. It hasn't changed to anything else. So actually, it's not a chemical change. It's just a solution, okay? It's just a solution. I can actually separate the two back. Actually, if you evaporate the water, you can leave the sugar at the bottom. All right, or you can actually separate the two if I wanted to. But we're not going to do that, but you can. So you can change it back to sugar and water. So that's the solution. Now, chemical change. Let's go back to chemical change. I want to go back to mankind first. We talked about mankind. We talked about the body. Let's talk about more. What other chemical changes take place in the body? Well, this is a human body book. Talk about the breathing, oxygen, pumping of blood, what takes place. Talk about the bones, and what we're going to stress is, let's go to the brain. The brain chemically changes. What chemical changes take place? Well, we know the brain is in charge of talking, moving, touching, hearing, and smell, all of your 5 senses, okay? Helps you think, balance, heartbeat, involuntary, voluntary movements. But what I want to talk about is the hormones. Hormones, very important thing to learn about. Released in the body, released in the brain, released when you exercise, okay? Released at different times in your life. Hormonal change can cause you to act certain ways, charge you to act strange sometimes, or angry, or relaxed. Different things you smell can relax you. It can affect the hormone level in your body. Of course, we know we all have hormones in our body, estrogen, okay, in our body. But it releases something I could touch on, puberty. Certain hormones are released. Children start to act a little different, act a little strange, going through some changes. That's chemical changes your body is going through. Based in the brain, it's releasing something out of a gland, okay, causing puberty to set in. Very, very important to learn about this chemical change that's taking place in your body, and that's dealing with the brain. Okay, let's do another experiment dealing with chemical changes. Okay, when you change, you can't change back. I just thought about puberty. Once you change, you don't go back, okay? You change for good. So what I'm going to do right now is a change in a few more other substance. I'm going to pour that out. And what I'm going to do is I have these chemicals. Glue is a chemical. Yes, it can be a dangerous chemical, okay? Glue. We don't want to smell chemicals. We want to be very careful with them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an experiment. You can do this at home as well. Using chemical. This is silly putty. This is a fun experiment. Kids love doing this, okay? I love doing this. It's a lot of fun. Another white powder. It's different. It's not drugs. It's not baking soda. It's not powdered sugar. It's not salt. What is it? You have no idea, because if it wasn't labeled, you don't know. So don't eat chemicals that you don't know. It's very dangerous, but I labeled it as borax. Borax is a chemical. It's an old detergent used a long time ago, but you can find it at Walmart, and that's too much. But chemical, it's a chemical, and pour that out real quick and put the glue in first. Just need a little bit, teaspoon for this one. I'm going to pour some glue in first. Let's do the glue first. Chemical is glue. We like working with glue. It's a chemical within itself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make silly putty. Silly putty is actually plastic, okay? Scientists was getting together, and they were trying to make a better form of rubber. What's called, can you say polymer? Polymer. Very good. Polymer. Polymer is anything, molecules, chain to molecules chained together, extend very long. Your skin is actually a polymer. Gum is a polymer. Rubber, any kind of plastic is, this is a polymer. See the thing, it stretches, is a polymer. This is a polymer. Most plastics, okay, are polymers. So polymer, they were making another better type of rubber. They were trying to make a better type of rubber. And actually, they made a mistake. Most scientists' discoveries are made by accident. Keep that in mind. Most scientific discoveries are made by accident. So accidents can actually be good, okay, or have a good effect. So I have glue. Okay, I'm making a polymer. Tie this into the Quran, chemical reactions. Tablespoon, approximately, of borax, which is a detergent. Okay, and H2O, the famous, infamous H2O. Can't have enough of that, right? Great stuff, H2O, water. You're going to cover it up, cover it all up. And remember I said it's mixing 2 or more chemicals. I just mix glue, water, and borax together. And I have to stir it. Remember, a chemical reaction, you have to stir it. This is a famous thing that kids love to death. It's so fun because it's just so cool. So I'm chemically changing it. And what I'm making it is I'm making, and I don't usually use food color. That's interesting. It's a little food coloring in here this time. You can use food coloring. I just don't use it because it makes a mess. But what I'm making is a big blob. I chemically changed this into a polymer. Okay, it's a lot of fun to play with. Okay, it's a type of plastic. Just by mixing those ingredients together, I'm going to stir it. You see the glue is still oozing out. That's okay. Put it back in there, stir it some more. I'm going to chemically change it to a polymer. They're actually atoms, and the molecules are bonding together, okay, and making something new. And what it is kind of like a ball even. You can play with it. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Okay, kids love it. You never get tired of playing with it, never get tired of making it. It looks kind of like a sack. Okay, if you keep stirring it, the glue will actually solidify into a solid-like form. And I know how long I have glue and water and borax, but I have a polymer. Okay, very cool, very fun. All right, so again, that's a chemical change. It's like a leech lock clot, like we talked about in the Quran. The leech lock clot probably looks like that on a much smaller scale. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to move on to the next ayat. The next ayat that I want to talk about is that of the sea. You see, I have these shells. I bought some shells. Beautiful shell here from the ocean. You can listen to it. It's really air traveling through, but it sounds like the ocean. Beautiful shell from a tortoise. This is a real tortoise shell. I picked it up at Stone Mountain. Highly recommend everybody goes to Stone Mountain at some time with your family and spend some time there if you're in Georgia. So I picked up this shell. Just found it on a nature hike. And this is a shell my daughter just had, so I just picked it up because they go through what are we talking about? Chemical changes to form this. These both go through a chemical change, okay? So I picked these up because it's actually an ayat that I want to talk on. I want to speak on an ayat dealing with shells, okay? It's in the Quran, 25:2. 35:2. And before I talk about that, well, it's going to mention the shells as well. But I also want to show you this. What is this? Well, separation of something. Let's turn it this way and see if you can tell me what it is. It's going to separate. What does it look like to you? Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you. It's also right here. A smaller one, you can make it home. It's water and oil. Water and oil has a natural separation. I'm going to shake this up. Unlike the lemonade, I'm going to set it down. You see it's mixed up, right? It's all mixed up. Set it down. Watch it separates in about, I don't give it a couple of minutes. Okay? But what it's going to do is separate. They have a natural separation, which is quite amazing to see. That natural separation that's also mentioned in the Quran, where it mentions the ocean. It's kind of like an ocean, right? You see the separation of the water on top and the oil on bottom because it has a heavy density, heavier density. Well, let me read this ayat in reference to this, okay? Then we're going to tie it all in. The two seas, this is 35:12. The two seas are not equal. One is sweet and delightful to taste, delicious to drink, and then that is salt and bitter to the tongue. Yet from both you eat fresh fish and bring forth ornaments, shells or ornaments to wear. See how the ships plow their way through them, and you sell and seek your bounty. Okay, now this ayat is talking about the separation of the salt water versus the fresh water. It's in the Quran 1,400 years ago. Again, an amazing discovery. Here it is separating once again, just like the oil and water is a natural separation, invisible boundary that you can't see. Quite amazing, okay? This is the way Allah has created it, okay? And again, it's in the Quran. Separation is talking about the ocean water, but then I'm talking about oil and water. Same example. One more. We're going to read 35:27 before we wrap up. 35:27. Have you not seen how Allah sends down water from the skies, which he brings forth fruit of diverse colors, and in mountains streaks of white, red, and various shades, and jet black rocks. People, beasts, and cattle have their different colors too. Even so, only those of his servants who have knowledge fear Allah. Surely Allah is mighty and all forgiving. That's from 35:27 to 28. 35:27 to 28, okay, from the Quran. Now that's talking about the different colors. Why did I mention that? Well, quick review while we wrap up. Different colors of people, rocks, leaves. Again, we're talking about a chemical, clearly diverse, just like people. The leaves are just as diverse. Chemical what? Reaction. Let's review. A chemical reaction is what? Chemical reaction is two or more chemicals or two or more things that you mix together to make something new. You make something new. Remember what we did today was the vinegar and the baking soda chemically reacted. The atoms combined, molecules form molecules, chemically react, make that big, cool chemical reaction. The sodium borax and the water. Remember we mixed that with the glue. And what did we do? Chemical reaction. It's called silly putty. Very fun. You can buy this when you buy it in the store, but you can make it at home, okay? Silly putty that we made is a chemical reaction. And remember, our bodies go through these chemical reactions. We talked about the brain, the hormones, how it chemically changes us. Sometimes we're chemically imbalanced and need to be chemically balanced as an adult or a child based on what we eat and what do we need to drink. H2O, can't stress it enough, water. And last thing I'm going to review is the digestive system. We talked about that. The chemical change that takes place from the time you bite it. Well, the apple itself, the orange, the pear, goes through a chemical change. Saliva breaks it down, goes down your esophagus, chemically change with the digestive acids in your stomach, chemically changes through the small intestines, the large intestines, release that nutritional value into every cell, billion of cell in your body that needs it, and then the waste is disposed of. Okay, so hopefully you will remember all of these chemical changes that take place. Be more observant of what you see in nature, whether it's the leaves during fall, whether it's the food we eat, but all these chemical changes happen naturally, okay, in nature, there for us to see, to learn from, to identify the different signs in the creation. We have references back to all these changes in our body, a proof of the miracle of the Quran with what the changes it talked about in the body, from the egg and the sperm to the leech-like clot, to the baby being born, to the adult, till you grow old, and then at the end you die into decaying matter and chemically decompose back into the ground so that new birth can arise. So, once again, I'm Serena, or Dr. S, from Science Creations, www.sciencecreations.com. Today, reviewing chemical changes. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at wehavefun@sciencecreations.com. Hope you learned something new today and enjoyed it, and may God's peace be upon you.
We're scientists, let's learn. We're scientists, let's learn. We're scientists, let's learn. We are scientists, let's learn. We're scientists, let's learn. We're scientists, let's learn.